Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back. We are going to continue our conversation on the recent Roe versus Wade decision to overturn the federal law of abortion. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about health insurance, and because it's complicated, on the employer side and the employee side. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act does make it clear that an employer that offers health insurance is not required to pay for coverage of abortion, except for if the life of the mother would be endangered. If there was a miscarriage or something happened in the pregnancy and the fetus would, if continued to be carried, could put the mother's life, at risk. And so that was issued in 2015. So the, health insurance could definitely get complicated. Many states on top of this have laws regarding abortion and if it's covered with insurance. One of the best places I think you can get access to this information is Planned Parenthood action.org. So www.plannedparenthoodaction.org. And then you can look for abortion access, and then you can sort through each state. And so since I'm currently in the state of Florida, I'm just going to go to that while I'm on this call here. And, it clearly says in there, in the state of Florida, abortion access is severely restricted. It's legal, but it's extremely difficult and time-consuming to access. And it does go into the insurance restrictions. So insurance offered on the state healthcare exchange, which was established under the ACA, it restricts coverage of abortion. And then state Medicaid funding of abortion services is prohibited except for very few exceptions, which is life endangerment, rape, or incest. And so you can go on to these websites as PlannedParenthoodAction.org and look at where your employees are located. Don't forget about your remote employees, because you do have to know the laws in the states that they're located in. If you don't have insurance in your workplace, then this isn't probably going to affect your insurance, so to speak, because you don't have it. But what it will affect is you giving resources and information to your employees, regardless of what your feelings are. And then, so in the state of Florida, again, I'm in the state of Florida, so I'm just looking at there's a 24-hour waiting period, which means 2 trips are required, which does make it difficult for individuals who don't have transportation, have to take time off of work, don't have PTO, sick time, etc. And they may end up doing something on their own, which again will not only put the life of the individual at risk, but let's face it, you're gonna have to deal with that falling out as well, just because they are your employee and that is going to get out. So I do encourage you to go to these websites, regardless of what your opinions are on this, just so you know what the laws are. There is also a abortion finder state by state guide. And again, not saying that you want to help your employees get an abortion, but this is information that will help you as an HR individual or a person that is in charge of HR to make sure that you know the laws in that state. And every state is listed there, and it lets people know if you have access or if you do not have access, and then possibly what other options are for employees or their family members who are trying to receive some kind of care because of their condition. So very, very important for you to know, that their employees are going to come to you. And if you aren't there to help them, you'll probably lose that employee, if not soon, enough. And we have this thing called social media, and everybody's talking about what companies are helping and what companies are not. And so at a minimum, having the resources available and the information, maybe flyers, fact sheets, websites, whatever it might be, to give people at least enough information to go help themselves, is very, very important. We are at a stage in the summer of 2022, and we've been here for quite some time, definitely during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic, where we can't find employees. Where did all the people go, Wendy? I have a podcast on that as well. But the bottom line is we're having a hard time finding and keeping employees. Well, one way for you to find and keep employees is to help them with access to medical care, and whether you have health insurance or not. And so one of these sets of information is also having information available to them for abortion, whether you're pro or anti-abortion, because it is medical care, whether you believe it or not. It is medical care for that individual who is seeking that information. And so it is a very, very, very touchy subject. A lot of people's feelings are involved. And the interesting thing is, most Americans are actually, based on the surveys that are out there, a majority and an overwhelming majority of Americans are saying, yes, we want people to have some kind of access, many with restrictions and many without. And so odds are pretty good. You probably have that same percentage, so to speak, in your organization, where there's more people saying we want to have some kind of access with limitations than nothing at all. If you have paid time off, so sick leave, vacation leave, PTO, unpaid time, but job protected, you need to let your employees know that as well. This might be a great time to just, even without taking a stand on abortion, of saying, hey, just a reminder of here's the benefits that we have. Here's the health insurance. Here's the employee assistance programs that we have. Many individuals may need to talk it out, and you or I am not qualified to do that. You need to get somebody involved that is an actual mental health professional, a medical health professional, and that's where things like employee assistance programs would come into place. And so if you don't have an employee assistance program, please look into getting one. Most organizations that have an employee assistance program, it's literally EAP. You just have to do an internet search for employee assistance program, but most of them come with health insurance, but you can get them a standalone too. And I'll be honest with you, they're super cheap, and you can use the EAP for other things, not just healthcare and mental health care. So when you are possibly hear somebody going through a divorce, or they're going through a rough time at work, a lot of these EAP programs actually have resources that in coaching and counseling for work type items as well. Because as HR professionals or managers, we're expected to be mental health care professionals too, and we are not. In fact, I think we're the ones that need the help sometimes, because we're dealing with so much since the beginning of the pandemic, and this is just one more item that is tossed on top of there that we are typically not qualified to do. My point of sharing this is, don't go it alone. Get help. Make sure that you get an EAP involved if you don't have one. Again, like I said, most of them do go through health insurance, but you can get standalone ones. And then the biggest thing I would say there, once you get an EAP, advertise the heck out of it. You make sure there's flyers everywhere, there's posters, they're in the break room, they're in the restroom stalls, there's phone numbers that they can call, there's emails, they're on the internet. That's the biggest thing I ask when I get a client is, if you have an EAP, what's the use? They're like, oh, I don't even know if anybody knows about it. And it's like, well, then why do you have it? Use your resources. Don't go it alone. You can use that resource to help your employees go and get the coaching and the counseling. Usually the first 3 to 5 calls or meetings are free, and many of them now are telehealth or telemedicine, so they don't actually have to maybe take a day off of work, or even drive there, or in some cases take a bus to get there, things like that. So don't go it alone, folks. We are not experts at this. Who knew that a couple of years ago we would be dealing with abortion discrimination and pregnancy discrimination laws in 2022, never mind all the COVID things that we've had to become experts on. We have a lot on our plate as HR professionals, and I'm not an expert on this. I know where to get my resources and kind of go from there. And so that's what you need to be doing too. But lean on your health insurance if you have health insurance. And then if you don't, or even if you do and you don't have an EAP, lean on that too.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.